Hello YouTube family friends, this is Rev It Up Mustang Fanatic Productions Mechanic Edition. Today we're looking at a Chrysler 300, somewhere between an '05 and '08 model, maybe 9. No start, possible timing belt jump. I don't know exactly what was done to it, but I know they done something to the plugs and some other things, and someone determined it might be the timing belt has jumped. But I'm going to run my diagnostic scan tool to see if I can get some DTCs out of it to tell me if it's the timing is off, or if it's advanced 15 degrees or 15 degrees negative, whatever we can find from our trouble code. So sometimes you won't get a DTC, and sometimes you'll get a lot of DTCs, but it had to jump at least 2 or 3 notches in the belt in order for a check engine light to come on. But you will have some lean conditions throughout it, maybe some misfires codes that might come up, but we'll see what comes up. But I'm not going to crank the engine because this is one of those types of engines that there's no clearance between the valves and the heads. So if the timing belt is broken, then you bend all the valves, the exhaust valves in the head. So I'm not going to attempt to start it. I just hope we got some sort of battery power so I can get a diagnostic code out of it. If not, we're just going to go straight to it, take off the top timing cover, and we're going to look at the condition of the belt, and we're going to time the marks up and see if they're timed. And if they're out of time, then we know there's a idler tensioner pulley, or either the idler tension is gone bad in it, which makes it seem to jump timing here. So we'll get into it and we'll see what happens. Okay, we're in. It's a 2008 Chrysler 3.5 high output motor, and we're doing a complete DTC, and we're going to see what we come up with here. We got 3 faults on the anti-lock brake. We're not even concerned about that. Heating ventilation fault. That's about it. A lot of times they don't give you no codes, so I'm not interested in those. So let's go back to powertrain, engine control, and let's see if I can get some codes that way also. Let's read some codes, if any at all. No codes detected. Okay, so let's try and look at some live data, see if that'll give me some information here. Okay, invalid key fault post, fuel on, starter on, ignition start, switch rate state off. Okay, engine off time, engine run time, purge cycle, not looking for any of that. Looking for some past history here that might give me some indication of what's gone here, what's going on wrong here. Fuel feedback open. Long-term, short-term fuel trims. Well, car hasn't been ran, so mass airflow. crank sync out of state. So that's a problem. So the crank sync is out of state. So we're going to have a problem with starting. Crank system fault and input loop home mode fault. So there's an indication there. Okay, let's get back to that live data. I got to get back down to that cycle I was on. All right, let's see here. So that's about the only thing that it is giving me is the crank faults. So we know we do have something going on with the crank timing. Doesn't say anything about cam crank differencing, but the crank system fault and line home mode is false. And the crank is out of sync. Crank signal is missing. So I don't think it would be a crankshaft positioning sensor, because it would show that we had a crank position sensor. So that's about the information we're going to get on that. So we're going to have to go right straight to taking the timing cover off. Okay, we're going to do little as possible here. We're going to try and not drain any coolant. We're just going to take the serpentine belt off. We're going to move the power steering gear out of the way, and we're going to take the front timing cover off. We're going to take loose the timing tensioner there, and we're going to get all these bolts off and take the timing cover off, and we're going to see if we can just see from this point of view whether we got a timing problem here or not. So that's as far as we're going to go. So we got a lot of 10mm bolts to take off, half-inch bolts to take off, 10mm for that, another 13mm for the idler pulley, and we got our serpentine belt remover, which we stick in the serpentine, the idler pulley, to loosen the tension on that belt. And I believe we can probably manipulate this cover to come off. We can slide it up and out of the bottom thing and let it drop down and bring it out crooked, and maybe we can see down into the timing marks. That's as far as we're going to go. Okay, we were able to manipulate it enough, lift the hose up and slide the timing cover out, and I can tell you this belt is shred to pieces. My God, if I get a close-up right down in there, you can see that that's all belt. And wow, I'm gonna pull some of this out. You can see that's all belt. So, and if you look right in here, you can see where the belt's ripping apart right there. So this definitely jumped time. So now all we got to do is find the timing marks, and I believe this is going to be a mark right here, and then the mark on the camshaft is, let me get it closer, is right here. If y'all can see that, let me get me a flashlight. So that's the mark on the cam right there, and this is the mark on the cam cover right there, and that mark is going to be on this side also, which is right there. And the cam mark, I'll have to locate that. It should be, here it is, right there where my finger is. So this is definitely jump time. So there's the TDC mark down in there. So I'm gonna throw a wrench on it and put it the top dead center and see where I line up and how many tooth it's off. This is the reason why I didn't want to start the car, because I did not want to damage the belt. I didn't know if the belt was broken or anything, but this is what we have. So for damage like that, I'm going to guess the tensioner is pretty bad, and I don't know, we'll have to check the bearings on the timing tensioner pulley. But there is just belt everywhere in here. This belt is just totally worn. The water pump doesn't seem to be leaking. There's no evidence of that, but while we got all this out, he may want to, it may be cheaper just get a whole timing kit, because I'm probably going to recommend a bearing and a tensioner. We'll see. But let me time these marks up and see where we at. Okay, I don't know how well you're going to see this, but I'm gonna see if I can get it down in there. And if you look right there, that's top dead center. So we are on TDC. See if I can focus it a little bit more better. We're right at top dead center. You can see that on the crank. Now on the camshaft is, here's the mark on the timing cover, and there's the mark on the camshaft. So we are about 1 tooth off on the right side, and on the left side we're about a half a tooth off. So there's the mark there, and here's the mark is supposed to be in between. So we turned it 2 revolutions to make sure we're right there at top dead center. And as you can see down in there, that belt is shredded. And it's a bunch of junk and garbage all down in there. You can see how the belt is just shredded down there. There are even pieces of belt. You can see the rubber down there in the front of the casing there. And you can get some, you can see it right there. So it did jump a tooth and a half maybe, from what we can see. So this is fixable. It didn't break. So we got our Chrysler harmonic balancer, damper puller, OME, and it's 27139. It's the same one that I used on the Charger. So we're going to hook that up. We're going to pull that dampener off, and we're going to inspect the tensioner and the pulley to see if we need to get all that stuff new. We switched from a 15/16 ratchet to a socket because we're getting close to the radiator, and this harmonic balancer is already back the pulley off quite a bit. So once we get this off, we'll take the tensioner loose and we'll check the bearing. So we'll get back with you. Once again, to show you how it works, the pulley grabs the back of that. You stick the long rod in there, and this bolt twists in to that rod, and it goes all the way in, and you use a 15/16 and you back the pulley out, and so that's what gets it off. And so then all that's left is down here is to take off these 2 10mm bolts here,
and then this cover will come off and we can get a better look at the timing down there. Okay, here comes the plate, and here comes off the bottom timing plate, and right there you can see that mess. Look at all that. That's all from the belt. You can't hardly see the timing tensioner, which is right there because of all that mess in there. So we got to make sure our timing mark is still lined up. I know it moved on me when I was taking it loose, and I can see that. So because it's right here, so we just got to put it back right there. We'll get a bolt on that and we'll put it back right there. Yeah, our readings were correct the first time. You can see that she is right at TDC. You can see both those marks. She's right on the money there, and that's the crankshaft. And on the cams, my first take, again, here's the lineup right here, and we are actually 1, 2, 3 teeths off on the right cam, and on the left cam we are actually, the mark is right there, we're actually 1, 2, 3 off on that side, and 1, 2, 3, 3.5 on this side, 4 maybe. So we'll get that timed up. So right now we're gonna take the tensioner loose, which is right here, and it's 2 13mm bolts underneath here. You usually can see the screws up in here, but it's such a mess in here that you can't see them. But there's one of them there. And the other one is right here. So we got it right there and right there, and we'll release the tension on that, and then we'll check out this bearing and see whether that bearing's any good or not.
Rev it up. Mustang Fanatic Productions Mechanic Edition. We're back here with the 08 Chrysler 300 with the shredded timing belt, and if you notice, there's the timing mark on the cam here, and there's the timing mark on the front timing cover case. And on the right bank we are seriously off. The timing mark is here and we're here. That's about 10 teeth. We're at top dead center down the bottom. So this is a little challenging here to see if we can get this line back up, because when I took loose the tensioner after having it at top dead center, this cam was right there. Somehow when I loosened up the tensioner and took the tension off, this cam spent over to there. So we got to get this line back up. We're hoping it's the easy way of just maybe kind of spinning the cam back that way a little bit and holding it, because it's got compression in it, and see if we can get it close to that mark. And then another thing would be, when the belt breaks, I have to take this whole cover off here to get to the #1 spark plug, and just put a long screwdriver in it or hold my finger in it and rotate the engine, and with a couple of revolutions, the first revolution is going to be the intake, and then the next one is going to be the power stroke coming up, the pressure stroke, and you'll feel pressure as it comes up, and this bottom cam sprocket should line up with TDC, and that should get those cams lined back up. We'll see which is what we have to do here, but we got all the new parts, the new water pump and everything So we'll see if we can get this thing buttoned up and get it started today. We did get the whole timing belt kit, which includes the timing belt, the water pump gasket. It includes the new timing tensioner and the timing tensioner pulley. Wait a minute, something's alarming me here. We got a bolt down here in the engine. I don't know what this bolt is. And that bolt, something shredded this bolt. Something tells me this might be the water pump bolt. If that's the case, that's going to be why that jump, that belt was knocking this. This looks like a water pump bolt. This changes the whole story here. I did not see that yesterday. So let me look at the water pump bolts down here. And if we got a bolt missing, that would be the problem. And why that stripped out of there is beyond me. I'm going to have to get some light and take a look at this. And whatever the case it is, this bolt is snapped. I'm glad I video recorded this. This bolt is snapped off. So if this is a water pump bolt, there's a bolt that's in there that's missing, that's got to come off. So with that being said, also we're going to have to drain the coolant and pull this top hose off, and we'll get a little bit more clearance when we're doing this, because we have to change the water pump. Okay, I'm feeling good. As you can see, there's top dead center. Okay, we got that right on the money. That's on the crank sprocket. Timing, you can see the marks lining up on the cams. That was the right cam. Here's the left cam. So we got that mark lined up and that mark lined up. So I'm happy with that. But what I'm not happy with is, like I said, I found this bolt lying down in the engine compartment and it's torn up. That's the reason for this bolt failing. So now I need to get, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get that bolt out, because it's it may be all the way in there. I might not be able to get that bolt out of there, and that definitely would cause a leak. If I got enough room to get that bolt out, if I take that water pump off, I can see. And you know, it's got the rest of the bolts in there, but that's the only bolt that was broken off that I can see. And that's what happens when you don't torque these things down to 105 inch-pounds. This is the failure that you get. So I don't know whether I should take this water pump off and look at that, but I know the owner can't blame me, because I recorded this and I recorded the whole process of me showing. I saw that silver bolt down there. I have not touched the water pump, so I won't be blamed on that. Okay, before I drain the fluid on this, the antifreeze, I'm going to take one bolt out of the water pump and match it up to this broken bolt to see how long it is, and that will determine how much bolt will be sticking out. If I can have enough with a grip pliers to get it, then the next thing is that bolt hole going to be stripped? That would be my next question, because anytime you see shiny, dark and shiny, that means metal has been taken away, and I can see this bolt been shredded down some. So that hole may be oblong and it may not be good. It may need to be tapped out or something. So I'm gonna pull a bolt out, and I'm going to go to AutoZone and see if they got a bolt to match up before I do anything else here. All right, this is encouraging. So that's the length of the water bolt, the water pump bolt. That's got to be at least a 1/2 inch, if not darn near close to a 1/2 inch. So there should be enough threads in there for me to get some small grip pliers and twist that off. But let me run the AutoZone and see if they can match these bolts up. Okay, right here is the drain plug for the antifreeze for the radiator, and we got that twisted, and it is draining out. And we took this loose so it can drain a lot faster, and we can begin to start taking loose this top hose and getting that off while the radiator finished draining out, because it's draining down. So I should be able to take this off without any antifreeze spilling. Then once we get that off, then we'll get that hose off. Then that's when we're going to take this water pump off. It's 10mm bolts, and we're going to put a towel over here to stop coolant from getting down on the gear and corrosion and stuff. And we got to clean all this mess up here. I got my brushes here to clean all that stuff out. I mean, just look at all that rubber in there that was shredded because of that bolt. Right there, what you see is missing has been broken off. Someone's been in this water pump. So we did get the correct bolts from AutoZone, so we matched it up right here, so we're able to get that installed. Hopefully there's enough of the bolt hanging out that I can get some small vice grips on and twist that and get that bolt out of there. That bolt has been through this timing case. I don't know how well you can see it. See if I can zoom in. See them shiny scars right in there, from there all the way down there? That's the metal scars that bolt left by going through the whole timing cover case. And it's even on this side, right up in there. You can see it. You can see those horrible marks. It's left this impression. See that? See them shiny marks up in there? This thing has went all the way around this timing cover case. So that's an indication of how much damage that bolt did. And if you look along here, you can see the mark right there where that bolt went all the way around there, and there was metal pieces like this all down around here. But these sprockets are tough, so I don't see any teeth missing on the sprockets or anything, so we should be okay. But there is a lot of scarring inside that timing cover case there. Now that I got the top hose out of the way, let's show you that part of the water pump. There's where that strip bolt, or where that broken bolt came out of, right there. One of the long bolts. So it's probably a 1/2 inch of thread that's sticking out. So I want to remain hopeful that there's enough thread that I can get some grip pliers and twist that bolt out. I'm hoping and I'm praying that that will be the case. But that bolt right there was probably not tightened. That's the reason when you're doing a water pump that you hand tighten them all, and then you torque them to 105 foot-pounds, and you make sure you double check that you tighten every bolt down to 105 foot-pounds, or else this same failure could happen. I mean, look at the mark that bolt put on this water pump shaft. It's got scars all the way around that.
and that's a good indication of how much damage that bolt did. And that's why
we're at Mustang Fanatic Productions Mechanic Edition. We don't like to just change parts. We like to troubleshoot and actually find out what caused the problem. And we see what caused the problem, and we record everything so that the owner of this car can't say, no, you broke that bolt off. Oh, there's plenty of evidence in there to show that that bolt has been in there. It was covered by all that rubber from the belt that you couldn't see it. I couldn't see it yesterday. I just noticed it this morning, and then you can see the scars all the way around the timing case inside and even on that sprocket. And so so that's why I record things, so they can see it and know that I wasn't the cause of this, but I'm the cleanup man. That's what I'm going to call myself here. So now that we got that draining, we're going to spray this stuff down with some brake clean and get all this dirt out of here and everything while the coolant's still draining. Then we'll get that water pump off.
I have the water pump out. This is the hole right here that the bit is broken off at, and I'll put a screw in here where you can see that the bolt is in there, so this it won't screw in, so the bolt's broken off in there. But maybe this tool can help me extract it. This is called a drilled hinge bit, and this assures that you drill a hole exactly in the center. So for example, it will go right inside here, and when you begin to drill, see how it fits right inside there, and when you begin to drill, this part retracts like that, and that drill comes out. So this is it, and you see it goes right in there, and this ensures that you're drilling right. This assures that you're drilling right in the center, so that's the right fit for that right there. So we're going to see if we can drill a hole in there, and this is supposed to, while drilling left hand into it, drilling the screw out. Let's hope that happens. Let's hope that works.
So my choices are a 9/64 or an 11/64. This 9/64, let's see if we can home in on that. Not that great. It is a little thinner, but it'll ensure that we drill correctly in the center. And being this is left-handed, that as you drill into it, it drills into the screw and turns it that way and backs it out. I just hope that it's long enough and that it can get the job done. We'll see how it works out. Okay, YouTube family and friends, let me update you here on the Chrysler 300 with the broken bolt
That is here in the water pump. That's the bolt right there that circulated through the whole timing cover and scratched up the casing all over the place and shredded the belt. I did manage to use
one of these hinge drill bits, and when you stick it in, this retracts and the drill comes out, and that allows you to drill in the center. So I do have it in the center, but however, it's not long enough to stick anything in there to retract the bolt out. So I do have these all-me set of tools. These are screw extractors. So you get the hole drilled, and then you drill these in, and then you screw it out. You reverse the drill, and this is supposed to extract the screw out. We'll see how well that goes. Rev it up, Mustang Fanatic Productions Mechanic Edition. We're back with the 08 Chrysler 300, the 3.5, doing the water pump. One of the water pump bolts broke off. We weren't successful getting that bolt out with several extractor tools, so we ended up
going up in drill sizes until we got even with the actual threads, and then we ran a 24 thread chaser in here, and that cleaned the threads up, and we got nice and centered, and we have our new bolt that will fit right inside there. And so we're going to go ahead and put this water pump on. I'm going to clean all this up and get this pump on. So here's our thread chasers, and this is your pitch, and we actually got a 24-inch pitch, and that's the bolt right there, the thread tracer. And what you do is line it up, and you see how it matches, and that determines the thread pitch in there. And so this is what we chased it out with. We got the threads in there, and it threads in beautiful. Okay, we got the water pump belt timing kit. So here's the tensioner pulley, the belt's right here, and the new water pump. And if I zoom in, you'll see these little tangs, and you just push them down into place. You can see them real good there now, and you just push them down, and the gasket seals right in place. It's hard to do stuff with one hand, but we got it. All those tangs got it in there, and it's on all the way around. So now we're going to take and put the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 water pump bolts in, and they're going to get tightened down to 105 foot-pounds. And once we have that on, then we can go ahead and put the timing belt on. Okay, we got the new water pump bolt on, and the new water pump. There's the new bolt. It is the same M6 bolt as these, and we got them all torqued to 105 foot-pounds. So now we can commence to put the timing belt on here. You can see we're at top dead center there, and I have a 3/8 socket, a 3/8 extension holding the bottom so the belt doesn't slip. And our timing marks are lined up right here and right here, and on the other cam our timing marks are lined up right there. Okay, we got our timing belt on. You see top dead center right there. The arrows are lined up. And on the driver's cam, you can see right there and right there. That's just about almost dead center. And the passenger side one, she's just about lined up, just slightly to the right, which is good because the belt's gonna twist over time anyway. So now we can just put the cover back on, bolt. Okay, so we put the top cover on first. These two 13mm bolts, 240.8 inch-pounds, and these 10mm bolts that go all the way around, 105 inch-pounds. T35, T40, and then all the rest of the 10mm bolts all around here, 105 inch-pounds. This bolt right here, 45 foot-pounds, 45 foot-pounds. The crank is going to be 70 foot-pounds. We got the power steering pump bolts back on. There were 3 bolts on that went to that. So now all we got to do is remove our borrowed crank bolt that we use to turn the crank with. So the engine's all timed, so we can kind of jerk this loose and unloosen that. We can put the serpentine belt back on. Then we'll put the radiator in, radiator shroud. Then we'll put the hose back on. We'll fill it up with coolant, and then we'll start it up. And like always, if we did our job right, she'll crank up. Okay, serpentine belts on, coolant hoses on, radiator shroud or radiator fan is bolted up. Everything's all together. We get ready to put some antifreeze in it, and we get ready to crank her up. Rev it up, Mustang Fanatic Productions. We're letting it bleed so all the air can get out. We got the coolant all the way up, and she cranked up. After I charged the battery was pretty low, so I had to give it a jump start. But it seems like he's got a little bit of oil valve cover gasket leak here. Other than that, she sounds okay. And that's how you do a timing chain, water pump, tensioner pulley, and tensioner, and get the correct timing on a 08 Chrysler 300. All right, the air seems to be bled out. So we'll put this top back on. She's completely filled up. And we can close the bleeder valve up, and we're done. Okay, that wraps the 08 Chrysler 300 timing belt, water pump, timing pulley, tensioner, and the tensioner, and she's all good to go. Fan blows, she's running nice and cool. Everything's good to go. Took her for a nice, good long ride. No overheating, no leaking, so she's good to go. Rev it up, Mustang Fanatic Productions, Mechanic Edition. She cranks on the money. We'll turn her off, and she cranks right up. Good to go. There's the coolant temp. Halfway. She's been running probably about an hour now, so she stayed right around there. And I did hear the cooling fans come on and run it back down, but she's good to go. But she does have a check engine light on, and I'll ask him if he wants me to check that out at another time. But other than that, he's good to go.